All right, so welcome to Empowered Elites team call for August 31st. Before we get started, does anybody have recognition that they want to shout out from this past week or even the week prior if you weren't on the call?
I just want to give Shannon a shout out. She hit Success Starters this month, so she will be at Summit next year. I'm excited.
That's huge. Success Starters is so awesome. It's like such a incredible opportunity. That was how I got to my first summit because I don't know if I would have made it priority otherwise. So congrats, Shannon. That's huge. Does anybody else have anything they want to shout out? Or coaches with honorable mentions kicking ass?
Well, I announced this on our call last night, but Sean, she's in Peru, but she hit Emerald. So if she watches the recording, she can hear her name recognized. Awesome. As a new Emerald. And then I recognized Katie last night again, but she's killing this month on Success Club 15. So I just think that's awesome. And so I thought I'd recognize and celebrate that too.
Yes. Congratulations, guys. You're not here, but we're celebrating with you anyways. Okay. My kid is smacking me with a crab claw right now. So if I seem a little distracted, you know why. But okay, before we actually dive into the content of tonight's call, I just want to kind of update you on a couple new things for September. I posted the team calendar in the team page today if you didn't see it. But Kelly and I have been talking a lot about creating a diamond push group. And we're going to ask some of you guys if you want to participate in helping create it. Hint, hint, diamonds. But we just thought it would be really awesome to get, because we don't currently have an Emerald to Diamond training running. We've had a couple and, things have worked, things have not. So we're really revamping this and just really creating it to be the kind of top tips that you need to lead yourself and become a leader and start growing a team and hit beyond diamond and kind of start growing beyond that. So it's going to be a 2-week training. It's going to be like a push to diamond kind of a group. And I think it'll be awesome because we all now are really starting to have a lot of coaches that are coming in on fire, really eager. And it's definitely going to be a huge help for everybody on the team to use. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that Kelly and I have been talking about creating a Declan. Okay. Hold on a second. You cannot jump on me, sweetie.
Social media. I'll just pick up where she left off. We were talking about creating a social media boot camp, or I don't know, was my idea to create the social media 7-day challenge. And so we were talking about getting together and creating basically every day, like a tip about social media and then a challenge of the day, like a suggestion of, or not a suggestion, but something that you would be required to post. And then for those that finish at the end, those people would go into a hat. We would select some prizes or whatnot. But I think this would be a great way for us to really focus on social media, hone in on some skills that we can all take away, and then also kind of like pinpoint what things are helpful for posting and hopefully boost all of our levels of success that way through social media and attraction marketing.
Yes.
Sorry, I just picked up.
No, good. I'm glad you did. I thought I was going to break my neck and I just went to the chiropractor. But yeah, we're going to do call to actions for that. And I think just the whole idea of it's going to be super helpful no matter where people are at in their business, whether they're brand new coaches or you are kind of a little bit more seasoned as coaches, because everybody can always improve their social media, including me or us in general. So I think it'll be super helpful. And this is crazy, but okay. So getting into, does anybody have questions about that before I move on? No? Okay. Declan, please. Hang on, guys. I'm sorry.
Pressure's on. So tonight, I know the focus of the call was to be about vision, and I think, Dana asked me to help like pitch in and speak. I actually spoke on 3 calls in the past couple weeks, and a lot of it had been about my story and getting started and keeping that vision in tight. And obviously Dana has done an excellent job of really honing in on her vision and for herself and Declan, and then keeping that in the forefront of her mind and her heart as she moves her whole business forward. So I know tonight she wanted to kind of share with you guys what that looked like as she made her way through, and then for me what that looked like and what I held on to, and that permission that we can give ourselves to really be bold with our visions. And then moving forward after that, we're going to go into the 12 tips to be successful and to take massive action so that your vision becomes a reality. I will continue on with my vision first. So it all got started. I don't know. Let me see where to start, because I was kind of going to go with Dana's cue. But anyways, we, as I said, I spoke on a couple calls over the past 2 weeks. And so I was sort of forced into thinking about my story again and where it all began for me. I don't know if you guys all like truly know where it all started, but I was like really at rock bottom. And I told a lot of my backstory in the other calls, but to just kind of sum it all up, I've kind of been this person that's moved all around working in hospitality for a long time and partying a lot. And that's always just been the Kelli that I knew. And the Kelli I defined myself as was a partier and a traveler. And so I met my husband, I got pregnant, things like really hit the fan for me fast, because we only had known each other for 2 months. So I was sort of forced into figuring out who I was. And I went to a really pretty dark place when I went to Hawaii and I had my son, even though I was living in the most beautiful place ever on the river to the ocean. And so we got into a lot of debt, and we had to actually borrow a ton of money from my mom to finally leave Hawaii. And we made our way through some places and ended up in Portland, where I was pretty much at rock bottom. I at one point had some people buy groceries for me, literally, like, because they saw us putting stuff back and we had a kid with us. And they, we couldn't afford furniture. Like, we put all of our money in savings. Like, I literally had $14 in my bank account, and I was reaching out. I was watching Dana for a long time, thinking that she was a fraud. Obviously, I'm not. I just didn't want to admit that it could be something for me, but in like the depths of my heart, I really wanted it to be, because I was so tired of living the life that we were living. And to be honest with you guys, a lot of it was, I was really unhappy, like in it all. Like, I was unhappy with myself, but I was also kind of pretty unhappy in my marriage, and we were working opposite schedules and we never saw each other. And I had been promised for like years that we wouldn't work opposite schedules. So I guess Eden was almost 3, and we kept moving, and Ryan would say, we won't work opposite schedules anymore. We won't work opposite schedules anymore. And we kept like, it was at the all-time worst, where we were like literally in bed for an hour with each other before I was like, okay, this isn't working, whatever we're doing to try to make this not happen. So I'm going to have to take some action. And about that time that I was kind of contemplating starting a program, I reached out to Dana, and I also like pretty simultaneously found out that I was pregnant. So that was like the icing on the cake. I'm like, well, if we can't even take care of one child, I don't know how we're going to take care of 2. So I wanted this to work. I needed this to work from day one. And I don't know, I was talking to Dana earlier on the phone or whatever, on voice messages. And I don't know, we were talking, I really lost my train of thought. Sorry about that, guys. But I'll backtrack. I was talking to my husband when I was first going to get onto a call, and I said, well, what do you think it was? Like, why did I make this work? Like, what happened? Like, what did I do differently? And he said that I went all in and I never looked back. And it's so true. I went all in because I had to, and I never ever wanted my life to look like it was looking. And I know what I was going to say. Dana and I were talking about how it's scary to give ourselves permission to really dream that bold as we really can, and or want to. I mean, I hear all the time when I talk with my new coaches, they're like, well, I would want to do this, but like, it would be really nice if I could do this. And you're like, no, but you can do that thing. So we have to allow ourselves to do that, to dream that scary dream and to have that vision. So I had convinced Ryan to let me get signed up for both of us, which was like, a small miracle. Like God must have been watching over me. I have no idea how my husband would ever, why or how, but he must have somehow believed in me, because we had like no money and put it on our credit cards. And the whole deal was, okay, if you can't make your money back, then you're going to have to quit. Like every month, if you don't make it back, we're quitting. Like we can't afford your payments. So it's $300 or, around $300 for both of us. So that was my plan. I was determined to make this work. I knew I could do it. And I kept my eye on the vision, which was to be home when my baby was born and not go back to my job, which I absolutely hated. So I literally did everything to make that happen. And my goal, and another thing that I think is just so, so important, is to have those goals that really mean something to you, that tie into your vision and your why. So for me, my goal was to make what I was making at my full-time job at that week that I would have to normally return to my maternity leave. So that was tied to such a big part of me and my vision, that I pushed, and I was willing to do anything and everything to make it happen. And actually, one tiny story, Dana, and then I'll let you take over a bit. I was talking to my father-in-law today too, but he said like, oh, you're so lucky that your husband's always been supportive and you've been able to like really do this. And I'm like, no, he has not. He has not. At one point in my life, he was telling me like, listen, like you're doing great, but your income's not consistent. You're going to have to like maybe go back and waitress. Dana, do you remember that? I don't know why. I was just thinking about that today. And I was like, no, like put my foot down. I will not go back to waitressing. I will make this happen. I'm not going because I believe that that's going to take more time away from this business. And I believe that I can make this happen. So I didn't, and I just worked harder. And I think a lot of times that's what it takes. Like it takes that hell-bent determination and stubborn drive to really make it happen. And really, like I said, holding on to that vision. So I'll let Dana talk about her vision and how that worked for her as she started too.
You were fine if you had more to say. I always like listening. Okay, I really wanted you guys to hear Kelli's story because I think what she's done is absolutely incredible, but the kind of underlying emotions and underlying things that create success are very similar in both of our circumstances, although our stories are insanely different. I knew as well from day one that I was all in with this opportunity. And this is how I look at it. Like when you come into this business, whether you want to be a part-time coach or a hobby coach, or you desire long-term to be a full-time coach, you have to kind of make that decision like in your mind, like an imaginary line, draw it in the sand and give yourself no plan B. Because in my eyes, if you give yourself a plan B, then there's always these little voices that are way stronger in the back of your head that are like, well, if you fail, you can do this instead. Or, well, if you don't make enough income, you have this backup plan. Or, well, if you don't really get to buy that dream house, you'll be fine living where you are. Or whatever those things are. But there's these little sneaky, like devilish voices in the back of your head that are always going to be egging you on towards quitting if you don't make that decision to just commit and to stay here and to stick it out and just give it all you've got. Because guaranteed, if you draw that line in the sand and you have a powerful vision to back it up with, there is nothing that you cannot accomplish given time and consistency. Because time is something that you have to give this business time to grow. It is not going to grow overnight. And it kills me when people quit and give up on these visions. And I can't tell you how many times, like Kelli was saying, when you have new coach calls and they're like, I want to quit. I want to be home with my babies. I want to do this. I want to buy a dream home. I want to be out of debt. And then they come in and they see that it's not always easy to hit Success Club. It takes work to run this business. It is a job. It takes work. It takes learning. It takes personal growth. It takes being resourceful. It takes you taking direction from your upline. It takes a lot of things, and it takes guts, and it takes grit. It takes, facing fears and doing things that make you uncomfortable. And if you don't have that bigger vision to back it, it is so easy to back down and justify it in your mind to just say, well, it didn't work for me. And the thing is that this business, it's not that it doesn't work for people. It's that the people don't make the business work for them because they don't do the work. Okay. So I want you to understand that if you are fully committed and you have this vision that we're going to talk about, that there is nothing you cannot accomplish if you give it time like Kelli and I have, because this is not our first rodeo. We've been here a while. So don't just look at us and think, well, that can't happen for me, because we once thought those things too. We once looked at people that are where we are and thought, holy shit, that's crazy. But we didn't do anything different than you guys can do. We didn't have any special talents or anything that you guys don't have. We were just committed to being forever learners and never giving up on our goals. So in talking about a vision, I want you to think about Beachbody in kind of the way that Beachbody is a vehicle. Beachbody is a vehicle for you to achieve literally anything that you want to in your life in a lot of aspects. And your vision is going to be different from everybody else's. So don't look around you to the coaches, you know, that have these things that they want to accomplish and just assume that that's what you want to do. You need to dig deep and figure out what it is for you that is going to emotionally drive you. It's, like I said, different for every single person, but it is so important that you are really, truly honest with yourself about what it is that you would like to see happen with this. And it'll become your clear emotional driving force. And when you have this driving force and you can literally envision in great detail what this opportunity can provide for your life, you always have this kind of like this wind that's kind of pushing you forward from behind. And when you're struggling and when you feel like don't showing up and you're not feeling motivated, that it's always in the back of your head that I know I'm going to make this work. I have to make this work. I have this vision. I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? And that's like what Kelli and I say about like having a black cloud hang over our head when we're not hitting Success Club. It's because we know that those little things are what it takes to bring a big vision to life, and those bigger goals to life are the small things that we do every single day. So, okay, don't eat that, Declan.
I think what Dana said about like the vision or making it like a thing in your head that you're not giving yourself a plan B was so huge for me, because that's like just when I was saying like I refuse to go back to work, like I'm not going back to maternity leave, I will not get a second job, like I did not give myself a way out. And it's been like that for everything, like for Success Club, for I mean, like I don't know if you guys like really even know, but like whatever, I mean, I remember seeing people that had been in the business for a long time when I was newer, and I was like, oh sure, like you've never had a hard time, whatever. Like I don't know if Dana remembers, but like it was December 31st, and I signed up 2 people to get my third month of Success Club and get Success Starters and Lock and Diamond. It was all the same thing. But it was the end of the month, and I was at Success Club 2 on the 31st of December. Like, I've been through periods of that too, and I just, in my mind, was like, okay, like, Kelli, you want this? You don't have a plan B? And, like, I always tell myself, okay, if this is really your goal, like if this is really what you're going to do and you're going to make your vision happen, then like you can't not do those minimum things. So I've been hell-bent on making those little things happen all along the way too.
And that's true. I mean, it's so easy to look at people that are consistent with hitting goals and just think that it comes easy, but I can guarantee you that those people are hustling. Those people are showing up every day, being consistent, doing the work. They don't have it any easier than you do. But with that said, the longer that you do it, the better you get at it. The more skilled you get in your conversations, the easier it is to create that part of your schedule. And those consistent things just become more of a part of your daily life rather than something that you have to continuously push yourself to think about, if that makes sense. Yes, and the more people you've talked to, you have to follow up with. That is true as well. Okay, so getting back to having that clear driving emotional force that is your vision or your why, I feel like they kind of go hand in hand. I want to encourage you to think about your ideal. And I mean, thinking about like, some people think that this exercise is kind of crazy, but I know that it was so friggin' impactful for me. because I had never allowed, like Kelli says, to dream that bold. I had never allowed myself to think in terms of like, what do I actually want, without inserting self-limitations that I can't have that, or I don't deserve that, or I can never create that, and block all of those negative things out and just think about, what would your ideal life really look like? And maybe it still means that you don't quit your full-time job, or maybe you don't want to be a full-time coach, but whatever it is, you need to know what your ideal is, because otherwise you have no idea what the hell you're working towards. And it's like, think about in terms of, what would you do with your time every single day? How would it allow you to be more present for your family, or more present for your kids? How would it feel to not have financial stress? And if you want to buy a home, or you need to buy a new car, or you have $30,000 of student loans that you want to pay off, what would it be like if you didn't have those financial limitations? What would it be like if you could get up in the morning and you don't have to set an alarm, and you don't have to answer to somebody else with how you decide to rule your day and what you do with your time? Where would you go? What would you do? Would you travel? Would you spend time with friends? You really have to think about this in great detail, down to little small details. And I know for me, Declan, stop. Give me 1 minute, please. I don't know if he's going to stop screaming. Hold on.
I literally, like Dana said, I remember in my bathroom in Portland when I was living there and I just started this business, I would get in the shower. I don't know if you guys know that, like, someday I had to leave Hawaii, like I said, because I was so broke. We went into debt and yada yada, but like, I have a soft spot in my heart for Hawaii. I don't tell that to my husband really that often. I'm like afraid to admit it because it was such a hard time, and I'll never ever go back there unless we're well off. But in my mind, that's always been my vision. Like, I can see us there. And I used to get in the shower and like I remember this so clearly. Like, I would get like the coconut stuff, like things that reminded me of the tropics, and I would just close my eyes and like made it a point every day to like breathe in what it would feel like to be in like that perfect house on the beach back in Hawaii, like living that life, and like picture it all. And that was part of like my whole routine, was to do like my 3 deep breaths with my eyes closed and like picturing all of the details. I'm gonna cry. I remember that like so clearly. I was doing that all the time.
I love that. And that's the thing. That's like, if you're envisioning things properly, you feel like that. You get emotional about it. Like, you can almost feel what it would taste like to be in that place in your life. And I know for me, it's, been, I guess, not such grand things in a lot of ways, because my life was in such a place of desperation when I started that. I can think one of the things that was super emotional for me was that I had never designed nor decorated a room for Declan. I wanted to create a room for my son with pictures on the wall, with furniture that I had purchased, with clothes in the closets that I didn't have to stress out. That I could, it wasn't necessarily about the things, it was about the feeling. It was about the feeling, knowing that I could provide that for him as a single mom. And a multitude of other little things like that. But that's what I mean about really envisioning your ideal, is like into great detail. The second part of that is to create a vision board with all of these things in your life that you would like to see happen. And this doesn't just have to be things with Beachbody, but it can be things overall in general that you want to accomplish in your life. Like, when I first made my vision board, I put on there doing a 5K, to travel more, to be more present in my life. I put on there a team name, and I didn't even have a team at that point. I put sharing my story at a Super Saturday, which I've done now. I put on there becoming an elite coach, which our team accomplished last year. I put all of these things on my vision board. The half of them, I didn't even know what the hell it took to make it possible, but those were things that I wanted. Those were things that I wanted to accomplish. And that's where it really takes you dreaming big and digging deep. And don't dismiss any big goals just because maybe you don't know how to accomplish them yet, or maybe you don't think that you're somebody who can accomplish them yet. Because if I would have set goals according to the girl that I was the first day that I signed up as a coach, I would have done absolutely nothing. because I had to grow into somebody that could achieve things. But that is the same with everybody. You have to set goals that are literally overwhelming is not a good word, but so big that like it forces you to push out of your comfort zone, and it forces you to face fears, and it forces you to grow in pursuit of those things. Because here's the kicker: if you trust in yourself and you have confidence in yourself, and that, you know, confidence bone grows as you grow and do your personal development and learn more, and get more skilled, then you really have this trust that you are exactly where you're supposed to be right now to be getting to where you're going, and that you're always going to be able to figure it out one step at a time. So I really think it comes down to the 3 P's that I always like to mention is patience, persistence, and perseverance. It takes all 3 of those things to really start to create some success in your business with that vision backing it. So I was actually reading something this past week about creating a vision for your life, because I was really trying to dig deeper to you know, what it really takes beyond creating that vision for yourself to have success. And there was a couple of things that I jotted down that I thought were really helpful and very true. And the first one is that you have to take ownership of the fact that you are the one that's going to create your own success. So if you are missing goals, or if you're not sure what you're doing and you're not taking ownership of that, to ask for help or to look at a YouTube video or to listen to a podcast. If you are not taking ownership of the things that you need to learn and things that you want to accomplish, it's very hard to move beyond those points, because you're basically always pointing the blame and pointing the finger somewhere outside yourself. And in doing so, you take away your power and your ability to control where you're headed. So when you take ownership of that, and you take ownership of what you need to learn, of where you want to go, and take ownership of the fact that you control your own success, everything changes for you. Everything changes, because your mindset becomes, I control this, I can do this, I create where I go and what I accomplish and what I do, right? The next thing is that you have to be, like we talked about, having no plan B. So you have to be fiercely committed to creating your own success. This is a business, but this business is so unique because it not only allows you, to have more passion and more purpose and happiness in your life, but it allows you to better yourself as a person, in your fitness journey, in your mindset, in your spirituality, in your relationships. There are so many benefits that come out of it, but you have to really be fiercely pursuing that success for yourself, like you're hell-bent on it, like that driving force, like that hustle, that heart, that grit, and just that guts to show up every day and do the best that you can. And with that said, one thing for me that I know when it came to really being committed to pursuing success was that I had to let go of all of the past failures that I've had, because I have quit on so many things. I dropped out of college. I changed my degree a million times. I basically did everything that I possibly could have done wrong. I was always a girl with great intentions and no follow through. I never set goals. I always started things and never finished them. So I had to basically wipe the slate clean of what I had done in the past and say, this is my time to shine, and I'm committed to creating and pursuing success in this business. And this is it for me. So if you feel like that about your past, or you failed at things before, let that go, because holding on to that now is only holding you back from what you are capable of here and now, right? The next thing, and this one has been so huge for me, is that when you have experiences, whether they are positive or negative, it is so important to reflect and to learn and to grow from them. And I especially mean this in terms of failure. I know for me, one of the hardest lessons that I had, and it was pretty early on as a coach, was when my first coach got to Diamond. And I was so friggin' excited. I thought, oh my God, I have a team. I'm learning how to lead coaches. This is so awesome. And then boom, out of the blue, she quit and she was done and she wanted nothing to do with Beachbody. And I was just like, I sat back and I thought, I'm such a failure. I don't know what I did wrong. I don't know why she didn't want this. I don't know why I couldn't help her. I don't know why I couldn't help her see the bigger picture. And given a little bit of time, that was a huge lesson for me. It was a huge growth opportunity for me to see that perceived failure as a blessing in disguise, because it taught me a lot in terms of moving forward and knowing that this isn't for everybody. It's only for the people who choose it. It's only for the people who want it. It's only for the people who dig deep and really figure out what they want for themselves out of it. So it's really, really important that you take everything that you go through in this business and look at it in terms of reflection and what you can learn and how you can better utilize it to move forward in a wiser way. All right, babe. All right, come on. Sit. The next thing is there is way more to success than income. And I like to say this one because I personally don't talk a ton about income, but I'm going to share something with you guys about income tomorrow. But I really just think that when I think in terms of income now, I think before I was really making much money with this, that I always thought like, oh, I'll feel good when I'm making $500 a week, or I'll feel good when I'm making this much. And the thing is that as I've gone along, I've really learned that it is not about those numbers. Number one, it's about the impact that you're making on people. But number two, it's about what does that financial freedom allow you to do in your life? How does it allow you to be more present for your family? How does it allow you to be more stress-free? How does it allow you to live more fully and do the things that you desire to do and really be free in terms of the opportunities that you have when you have that kind of abundance in your life, right? Really, I say this a lot, but shifting from thinking, what can I get? What can I get? How much can I make? To thinking, what can I give? How can I serve? And how, that in doing those things and continuously being focused on that you are going to get what you want tenfold if you have that good intention of just giving and serving others. The next thing is that it's so important to stay inspired. We talk a lot about personal development. We talk a lot about getting on team calls, national wake-up calls, all these things. But life isn't always easy. We have personal challenges. We have personal battles. We have stressors. We have unforeseen circumstances. And I personally think that long-term in creating success for yourself and really being in pursuit of this bigger vision, that you have to be resilient to those stressors in your life. And you have to be resilient to those things that really throw you off track or make you feel negative or, make you struggle. And it's so totally all about that mindset. So it's so key to stay inspired and to really continuously remind yourself of that bigger vision, especially when you are struggling. Because I know for me, even on my darkest days, and I've had many in the past 2.5 years, and I still do some days, but, I am able to sit back and think about the bigger picture, and I'm able to find gratitude in all of the ups and the downs. And I know for me that emotional resiliency, I guess I could say, for lack of better words, is so key to staying on track because you bounce back so much easier. Would you agree with that, Kelly? I don't know if I'm wording that to where people can make sense of it, but it makes sense in my brain. Okay, that was all I had to say in terms of those things. But just quickly before we get into Kelly's success tips, if you guys don't have one, I would encourage you to make a vision board. And this can be something where you print out pictures off your computer, or you sit down with a glass of wine and you cut, words and magazine cutouts out of magazines, and you put them on a poster board, and you put this poster board where you work. Because I have mine sitting right next to me, next to my desk, and it has my dream home, it has travel more, it has purpose, it has evolve, it has all of these words that inspire me and motivate me and drive me towards becoming a better version of myself and becoming a better leader and making a bigger impact, but also those, personal goals that I have for myself and for my life and for Declan, because those are really important to look at every single day, to remind yourself that driving force behind why you are showing up and doing this every single day. Because without that, it's really hard sometimes to show up and want to sit down and do the vital behaviors, because some days it feels monotonous. But when you really, truly understand that those little actions every single day are what's going to get you to that bigger picture, like Kelli, when she came in and said, I want to be home with my baby by the time she is born, and she made that happen, it was because she always had that vision in the back of her mind when she was working her business every single day, that if she showed up and did the work every day, that it was going to get her to where she wanted to go. So craft that vision for yourself and make a vision board. And I would love if you would post them in the team page if you want to share them. But okay, since it's 9:15, we can get into your success tips. Kelli shared these on a call 2 weeks ago, and I just think they're so spot on that I wanted her to share them with you guys as well.
Okay, I'll go through them more quickly since it's already kind of late. But so when I chatted on the call, I went through my story and I kind of spoke to what I thought contributed to my success along the way. What things I did that I think are actionable, because I always liked actionable steps. So here's what I put together success along the journey. So number one was, like we just talked about, I had a crazy strong why and a vision, and I never ever took those out of my sight. And I actually was just thinking this when Dana was speaking, but I knew from day one with that why, that if the only thing standing in my way was my determination, my drive, and my time. And I think that's so critical to really hold on to, is to realize that no one has anything that you don't have except for more time in this business. Whether if they have a different skill, fine, they have a different skill. You have a different skill that they don't have. They've just done the time and taken the energy and gotten out there and learned that thing that you don't have. So it just takes time and the dedication to learn the thing that you don't know, right? So sorry, sidetracked. But the number one was the why. Number two was the training. So I jumped into a Coach Basic. I did every single thing that they told me to do in the Coach Basics training. I think about a month later, I was in something like a month into my business, I was in a 2-week fast track to diamond training. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it for sure. And I kind of felt like I was out of my league, but I just did it. I showed up anyway. Like, they were telling me to like post about wanting to get coaches on my team. And I was like, holy shit, I only have like 4 people that I even like, I don't know. I can't ask people to join my team. Do I have a team? But I just did it. I believed that the people that were telling me what I could learn and grow in were people that really had my best interest at heart, and they had been there. So if they could do it, I could do it too. Number 3 was I really set out to master social media because that scared the crap out of me. Like part of the reason I never took Dana seriously was because I was so negative in myself, and I thought she was so positive, and I didn't buy into it, and I didn't like positivity, mostly because I was kind of a miserable person. So I didn't want to put anything out there on social media that would make me look like a joke. I was so afraid of people judging me. I was so afraid of looking positive when everyone knew me as this negative partier. I was afraid of it all. So I really set out to listen to all the podcasts I could listen to. I got into some webinars. I did like the Amy Porterfield webinar. I did Job, Right Hook. I started looking at tons of coaches, like kind of obsessively, to be honest with you, and I would like snap pictures of all of them and look through them for motivation or inspiration if I needed ideas for a post. in different companies too. And I always thought of myself as a business. Not always, I guess, but that evolves. But looking back, I think that's contributed, is thinking myself like I am my business. And so it's important for me to present myself in a way that's me, but then I'm still my business. So I don't have to do all of the things necessarily that other coaches are doing. I just have to be me and be my own business.
Kelli,
I wanted from day one to make sure that people wanted to look at my stuff, like attract versus repel. Like I didn't ever want someone to block me. I'm sure they did, but whatever. So I didn't want to be the person that was blocked. I wanted to be the person that people were coming to find new content and find out what I was up to. Number 4 was I set non-negotiables in my mind, and I set out to make those happen. So like Dana said, my goal was to be home with my babies. And then I also had like income goals. I had success club goals. It started off as Success Clubs 5. So for my whole first year, that was my goal. And then I was like, okay, I got to jump this up to 10. And then over the past 3 months, it's been 20. And it's amazing when you set those non-negotiables in your mind, you rise up to make it happen. So don't set your sights too low. Just know that if you make it a non-negotiable, it can happen for you. Like I started out, my goal was minimum $200 a week. And then I was like 500 and then 700, like you have to raise it as you progress, and you have to keep facing fears and stepping outside to make those things happen. Number 5 was I gave myself rules based around what my weaknesses were. So my weakness is like scrolling social media or procrastinating my invites. So like if I looked on social media, I made myself send an invite. If I was laying in bed and I didn't have any messages in my inbox, I am such a freak about having messages in my inbox because I know that it's a numbers game. So if I have nothing in my inbox when I go to bed, I send like 5 messages to whoever, just so I have some way to start the day. Not saying it's the best idea to be on your cell phone at night laying in bed, but that's what I did. Number 6 was I set out to be the best coach that I could be to my challengers, because that was so, so important to me, that I really felt confident in the impact that I was making to the people that at the time when I was starting. I was pregnant, like I mentioned. So I didn't feel very confident in the ability that I had to be a really great coach. Like I just felt like, oh, I'm pregnant. How come I'm not even losing weight? I'm not I don't know what I'm doing. So I wanted to not feel salesy. I wanted to make sure I was making an impact. So I put together my challenge group guide. I sent people like samples of Shakeology. I sent out cards. Like I did whatever I could to make sure that I felt secure in that. Number 7, like I said, I messaged everyone on Facebook. Anytime I had like 15 minutes, I was sending messages on my active challengers menu. Like it's something where, I think for a long time I looked at Dana and I was like, oh my God, how's she hitting those numbers with Success Club? And now I'm like, hey, Dana, I'm about to kill you. Just kidding. But I'm like, hey, how did I catch up? And it's like crazy how it changes, but there's no like secret. The secret is just talking to people. Like it really is just messaging a ton of people. That's all it is. And then just knowing too, and I think this all the time, and I realize that not everyone even thinks this way, but it's not about like, don't message someone and think like, oh, maybe I'll sell them a challenge pack. Like it's not about that. Like number 1, it's about building a connection so that you're, again, making an impact. Number 2, it's about building a connection so that maybe you can help them. And number 3, it's about putting your stuff that you're sharing up on their Facebook wall so that you can make the big impact with other people. So it's just so multi-purpose when you're reaching out to people. I'm talking super fast. Number 8, I did everything that Dana told me or suggested that I do. And then I also reached out to other coaches too. And I had a great relationship with Dana where, I would ask her for what I needed, or I would tell her, listen, I appreciate tough love. This is what I need. Or like, this motivates me. Can you help me? Or like, sometimes I'd check in and be like, hey, I didn't do my power hour for like 4 days. I need to send 20 invites today. Like, will you tell me, like, check in on me later? So things like that, I took her advice to heart because I knew she had been there. And I swear, guys, like I always had this on repeat. Like, if that person can do it, I can do it too. Like they don't have anything that I don't have except for time and the dedication to themselves. Number 9 was I ran free groups because I had a ton of relationships to rebuild. And I knew that because I partied and I was selfish and I wasn't the best human being. And so I had a lot of work to do on myself, but I also had a lot of proving myself to do in my intentions to other people. And I really wanted to make that happen. Thus being the best coach was one of my things too. So I ran free groups. I did whatever I could to offer free content and rebuild relationships wherever I could. Number 10 was I was really consistent and I scheduled in my time, and I never ever let myself go to bed without feeling like I put my best effort into the day. Did that mean I did a power hour every day? No, of course not. Like some days I was exhausted. I was pregnant with a toddler working full time, but I did the best that I could, and I didn't make excuses for myself, and I knew what that meant. And number 11, I faced my fear. This is a tough one because you always have to face fears, and they change, and then you conquer them, and then you have to face new fears. And, you know, we go through ups and downs and valleys in this business. And at the end of the day, like, you conquer something and it's like, well, if you feel like you conquered something, you got to conquer the next thing. So there's no stop to it. If you're not facing a fear, that fear is holding you back and you're not growing. And number 12 was I believed I could make it happen. And I wanted that vision. I believed I could do it. I believed that I have nothing. I had the same thing everyone else had. Not actually. I believe that I had something unique where I could make a difference in people's lives. And I believe that if I put my time in and really committed to me, that I could make that difference and get to that vision. Never ever doubted it. I think I doubted I don't think I did. If I doubted it, I was like, you don't know. What can I learn? Where can I grow? And I think you have to have that mentality. Sorry, I just rambled, but I wanted to get them in because I didn't want to keep people forever.
Love it. I was trying to cut in. I think it was on number 4. Echoing. Am I echoing to you?
And I was talking too fast.
Is that better now? Am I not echoing now? I was going to say, I don't know which one. I think it was the one you were talking about, social media, Kelly, where you were saying, like, I couldn't be like you because you were so positive and I wasn't. I felt a lot of the same way in the beginning. Like, I almost felt like I was being fake sometimes because I didn't really feel like that all the time, but I wanted to feel like that. And I think that it's a really cool thing about coaching is that you literally get to reinvent yourself. You literally get to recreate, who you are, like who you want to become. And it all speaks to that personal growth. And a lot of times you will hear top coaches say, like, work on growing yourself more than you work on growing your business, because that's what's going to move you forward most. And I truly wholeheartedly 100% agree in that. Like, if you feel like you are struggling in general in any kind of a sense, like, you need to do more personal development. You need to read something that lights you on fire, that helps you build that confidence, that helps you realize that no matter what it is, like time management or consistency or negativity, or, your belief in yourself, like whatever it is that you're struggling with that's holding you back in terms of really moving forward towards those visions, those are what you need to dig deep and work on. And I know for me personally, it took, working through a lot of things that I had carried with me my whole life, like a lot of negative, deep-seated beliefs or like things that I hadn't really healed from, in order to really be at like what I felt like was a baseline to keep progressing towards a better version of me, and figuring out who I wanted to become, So, do you guys have any questions for Kelly about her tips that she went over? No? I love your tips, Kelly. I think we should make a poster board of them. All right, guys. Well, it is 9:30, so if nobody has questions about anything, we will let you guys go. But I hope that Kelly and I have kind of given you some inspiration in terms of really creating that vision for your life and for yourself, and deciding what it is that you truly want this opportunity to be a vehicle for you. because we talk a lot about the basics of hitting Success Club, of sharing the coaching opportunity, of sharing on social media and all these things. But at the root of that all, you have to have that bigger why and that bigger vision underlying, so that it pushes you. Because if you can figure out your purpose, in that grand vision for your life with this opportunity, then it will drive you to be consistent with your goals. And it will be your driving force when you hit roadblocks and you have failures and you have fears that you're literally standing on the edge of, and it will push you to overcome those things in pursuit of knowing the bigger things that you want to accomplish. So Kelli, do you have anything else that you want to say? Hey, buddy.
We're just getting naked over here, so we're good.
I love our team. I really do. All right, ladies. Well, thank you for hopping on tonight. I will post the recording in case you want to tag your coaches that missed it. And as always, we would love feedback to hear what was helpful for you guys. So we will see you next week. Have a good night.